we go.
All right. Welcome to SpellCast, the yearly Gaming Wizards podcast.
At this point, it pretty much is. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
You were saying...
We're not even going to try to regularly do this anymore. If something comes up worth having a SpellCast over, we'll just do it. And if not, then, you know, it won't happen.
I mean, it'd be nice to do it regularly, but...
Yeah. I feel like eventually we just start,
our schedules,
like,
every
having
time...
repeat conversations.
Yeah. Well, and, like, every time we kind of start trying to do this, like, regularly, like, our schedules go through a bunch of wibbly-wobbly fucky-wucky, and...
Bunch of scheduling bullshit, yeah.
Yeah. Everything just kind of ends up being like, oh, we haven't recorded for 4 months. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
I mean, recently, we've been better, like, schedule-wise at doing this more regularly.
yeah.
Like, we still end up not, you know, being able to or whatever, or just deciding not to for whatever the fuck reason. But, I mean, despite what my editing schedule might look like, we've been recording fairly regularly.
At least once a month.
Yeah. Sometimes even twice.
Yeah. Those are magical months, really.
Yeah. Get shit done. But not Cockhead, though.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story.
That's gonna be its own little thing there.
Yeah. I definitely think that streaming is gonna probably be the best way to do that. We'll plan it.
We're not quitting. We're not giving up. It's just we don't want to be uploading week after week of, you know, little episodes of the same fucking King Dice fight.
Yeah, like, I think part of the problem is every time we go to record that game, like, it's been a month since we played, so like the first 30 minutes is us like reacquainting with the muscle memory, so we just need to sit down, have just a nice like 3-hour stream of just doing it.
I don't think it'll take 3 hours.
I don't either, but like that's the amount of time I would allot to it.
Yeah.
You know, of like, this is the time frame we have. I don't think it would actually take 3 hours.
We're gonna end up like setting up a stream, have it planned out, like the entire thing. We're gonna be like, we've got 3 hours, we're gonna do this, and it's probably gonna take at least an hour of that, and we're gonna get it on the first go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're gonna fucking one shot that thing and be like, so
we got like 3 more.
Let's go kill the devil.
We got 2.5 more hours to kill. What else can we stream?
Yeah, well, we'll like one shot King Dice, and then we'll one shot the devil, and we'll just kind of sit there awkwardly, be like, well, now what do we do for the next couple hours?
Now what? What do I do now?
We go back and we try to get like the perfects on all the
the
perfects and the pacifists on all the things.
No, not even joking. That's not even funny.
I know people who've done that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know people. Well,
like when the game came out, like a few people I know just got super into it, and they've gotten every single achievement.
Of course, it's possible. I mean, there are people out there beating fucking Dark Souls.
I mean, the first one's not that bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not that bad. It's doable.
I hate it.
I also hate it for various reasons, but I'm going to give the first Dark Souls another chance, possibly soon. Basically, I have a friend who like really wants me to play the first Dark Souls, and I basically told her, like, if you play it with me, I will put myself through this hell. But every time we try to schedule it, like, it's impossible to like get a hold of each other. So like, right now I am currently at a point where I am only working on Sundays. And I'm just like, I am free like 90% of the week. You just tell me when, and still nothing. So we'll see.
Eventually, someday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it. I've given Dark Souls 1 multiple tries. I gave Dark Souls 2 a try. I've heard 3 is like better at not being a total clusterfuck of.
I really like 3. So
maybe I'll give that one a try someday if it's not like heavily dependent lore-wise on like the previous 2.
Not really. Like, the way lore is done in the Dark Souls games, like playing through the game, it doesn't actually give you anything. Like, if you really want to get into the lore, you have to, like, read item descriptions and pay attention to just, like, where things are in the environment. So, like, the game has, like, a story, but it's, like, it's very, like, limited and kind of vague, and you don't really know why you're doing anything unless you actually take the time to, like, deep delve into it. And, like, that's what YouTube's for.
Yeah.
Like,
there's that.
If you really feel the need to, like, have the backstory and the lore from the first 2 games, just fucking go watch the YouTube videos. There's a guy that's, like, really good with Dark Souls lore.
Like one of those channels where it's just like, this is everything that happened and everything that will happen in this timeline kind of deal.
More or less. Like, from my understanding, he's, like, the go-to, like, lore guy for Dark Souls. So, like, I have his channel up because I want to do some looking into that, because it's a really interesting world. I just don't have the patience for piecing it together.
Is, like, games, like, the challenge of a game is it punishes you by not letting you experience the story. And Dark Souls is so challenging that it's keeping me from getting into a story that I want to know more about. And I'm like, fuck you for being everything a game should be!
Yeah. Like, the way I experienced those games, so the first one, you know, I had some friends who were really into it. I decided to try it out. I played a okay amount solo. I think I beat, like, 3 or so bosses. I didn't get into it. I didn't like it. I felt like there were parts of the game that were very much set against the player and were a little too reliant on memorization. Like I understand having difficult mechanics and, like, recognize, like, this is a wind up for some sort of attack, and, like, trying to learn mechanics of that kind of stuff for bosses. But when it's the kind of thing where it's like you walk through a doorway and something, like, on the other side of the door that you had no way of seeing or knowing would be there just, like, pushes you and, like, you die, like, that kind of thing is unfair game design, and it's more dickery. Yeah, it's more memorization as opposed to, like, skill, and, like, if there's no way to tell that they're going to be there. But I feel like the series got better with that as it went. I never played 2. But what ended up happening was a friend of mine that I play Final Fantasy with is really into the Dark Souls games, and wanted to play the first one with me. So I was like, okay, I'll boot the game up. It's been forever, and we'll play together. And playing that game co-op made it infinitely more enjoyable. Like, I enjoyed it enough that when Dark Souls 3 was coming out, like, we didn't play through the whole game of 1. We only played a little bit of it. But I enjoyed it, like, doing it co-op, and I was like, all right, well, you know what? When 3 comes out, I'll pick that up. So, like, day 1 of release, I picked up Dark Souls 3, and I played all the way through it, and I love 3. I've actually gone through 3 multiple times now, because I really liked 3. And because I got really into 3, I was like, I should look into Bloodborne, because the, like, gothic horror aesthetic of Bloodborne,
hell yeah, and all the Lovecraftian shit.
Yeah, like, that definitely is more my jam than the generic fantasy of Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, that was what made me want Bloodborne, was, like, as soon as, like, I started out watching the Game Grumps play it, and I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of neat. I like the setting. It looks a lot like Dark Souls. I'm kind of iffy on that. And then for some reason, I started looking at the wiki and reading, like, a lot of the backstory and stuff. I'm like, that's fucking awesome! I love that! I want this game now! And I didn't even get a PS4 until, like, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I've been playing Bloodborne now, because I'm done with Kingdom Hearts forever now. That's a whole other thing too.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But
yeah, like, Bloodborne, it's very much like Dark Souls in that, like, it doesn't spoon feed you all the lore. Like, you have to pay attention to stuff. You have to look at item descriptions. And I like that approach to storytelling. It makes the world feel a lot more alive as opposed to just having everything spoon fed to you. But yeah, I love Bloodborne. I've played through that one a couple times now, and it's probably my favorite in the series. I really wish they would do a Bloodborne 2, but We'll see.
Yeah.
Everyone was hoping that when they showed the teaser trailer for what ended up becoming Sekiro.
That it was going to be a Bloodborne sequel?
Yeah, because what they showed in the teaser trailer is his arm, but up close shots. So you just kind of saw this like part mechanical, part bone, like weird like thing up close,
and people were thinking it might be like that. Like that's the next thing for Bloodborne is. Like,
yeah, well, it made people think of like the bone saw from Bloodborne.
Oh, okay.
So like it.
But that would be cool though if they did like more. Because like the thing about Bloodborne and the Lovecraftian side of it, it's like otherworldly. Like they're these ancient creatures that are like beyond our perception, and it might be interesting to see like get a little more sci-fi, like not quite full sci-fi, like maybe a little bit of steampunk in there, and people like trying to.
That could be an interesting direction to take it.
Yeah, like have some of these freaky monster creatures, but they've got like a little bit of mechanicalness to them, like maybe like Alien kind of.
That actually could be kind of an interesting direction to take that, but you definitely like
with a little bit of like H.R. Geiger kind of.
Did you? So I know you picked up Bloodborne. You've been playing it. You've been enjoying that. Have you picked up the DLC yet?
I have not.
Okay. There's no rush on picking that up. I definitely think it's worth going through the majority of the main game before picking up the DLC. Just don't fight the final boss, because the moment you fight and beat the final boss, the game resets you back to like New Game Plus.
Right.
Like you don't have that option of going back and choosing when to start New Game Plus. Like the moment you beat him, you're in New Game Plus.
Yeah, that's I knew that from.
But yeah, like the DLC is super worth going through. Like some of my favorite parts of that game are in the DLC, and some of my least favorite. And the one section of the game that I have the most like hilarious clips of like playing through with friends is in the DLC. There's this area where there's this it's like this research hall, and it's just this big multi-floored like hallway essentially, and in the middle there's like a big spiral staircase with like stairs leading off in different directions. And what you have to do is you have to go all the way up to the top, and you pull a lever that like lowers it, and it moves where the staircases go, and that's how you get through the thing into like where the boss is for that area. But like initially when you find that stair that goes up there, it's just like it's a drop off, like it just goes nowhere and it just falls. So I have this clip on my PS4 that I can show you later where we're fighting some enemies and killing them, and I walk up and like I kind of tilt the camera down, and like I look over the edge of the stairs, and I just kind of like I turn my character around and I turn the camera, and as I'm turning the camera, you see Matt run right past me. And then he falls, and you hear like the death scream, just of him like landing, and then like I walk down the stairs a bit, and then the little pop-up comes up of like cooperator has died.
Oh wow.
It is my favorite clip of that game. And then same area, because as you go through and that area you unlock, there's an elevator that'll take you up like halfway, so that you can skip the first half of it if you die a bunch. And there's another clip I have of that same area where like I pull the thing and like I'm waiting for the elevator to come down, and because the connection was a little spotty and like the sync wasn't perfect, I think it was Matt again, like because I know it was me, Matt, and someone else playing, but I think it was Matt who did it, where he comes running past me and just like jumps into the elevator and sends it up before it actually got all the way down.
Oh.
Like he basically just jumps through the fence, and like the elevator lands and then immediately starts going up. And I'm just sitting there like it's good.
Okay.
I've had some interesting glitches in that game. But yeah.
And the only glitch I've had so far is an enemy seemingly consistently spawning inside the ground. And it was weird because like it was I could hear it, but I couldn't see it. And then like it just like poked its head up out of the ground. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing in the ground? And I was like trying to hit it, and it was still hitting me.
But you couldn't quite hit it.
Well, I managed to hit it.
Okay.
Like, I managed to kill it, but it happened like twice too. It was weird.
Huh? I've never had that happen.
Random enemy just like under the ground, like directly under me. And I'm like, what the fuck is that?
How far have you played? I'm just kind of curious.
Just yesterday beat the Blood-Starved Beast.
Okay,
I'm in Old Yarnum.
All right, so you basically you did because I know you said you did the Cleric Beast, which is the side boss,
right.
And you did Father Gascoigne.
Yeah.
And then you got to Cathedral Ward, and then immediately went to Old Yarnum and fought the Blood-Starved Beast.
Yes.
Okay, so I know where you are then.
That was a pretty badass fight too, I have to say, because like I was kind of looking at a map on the wiki because I was a little bit lost and I wasn't sure exactly where to go, and I found it and I'm like, oh cool, now I know where to go. I have 2 blood vials on me and no bullets. Fuck it, I'll see what happens. And I actually like barely managed to kill it on an attempt that I didn't think was going to succeed. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I did that.
It's not too bad a fight, but
it's not. And I did one of the there was the summon one of the other characters thing, and I think it mostly was like aggroed onto him, so it was like ignoring me or something.
That's always nice.
Yeah, that it probably would not have gone as well if I hadn't done that. But
I always go for a Dex Blood Tinge build, just because I naturally go towards Dex style weapons. I've always preferred like the fast play style.
Mm-hmm.
So Blood Tinge affects the damage you do with guns.
Yeah.
Which it has limited usefulness, honestly. Like you can do some decent damage with guns, but it's never going to replace your main weapon.
Yeah, it mostly seems like you're setting up for visceral attacks, like to stun something.
Well, yeah, so the thing is, Blood Tinge also affects how much damage you do with visceral attacks.
Oh.
But then also there's an item you get that you can get later in the game called Bone Powder. And basically you can hold 10 of them and you use it on your gun, and your next shot does like 4 times damage or something. Like it's a huge damage buff.
Wow.
And my favorite part about that build though is like whenever me and Matt would be playing and someone would invade us, like Matt would charge at him, and because Matt always goes for like a strength build, he usually chooses a greatsword. So he's fighting them in close with a greatsword, generally keeping them distracted. And I'll just kind of come around the corner and shoot him once with a like bone powered gunshot, and it will one shot a person.
Wow.
Like it is hilarious. Or like sometimes it's not like a full one shot, it's like, like a half or like 3/4 of their health, but it's just a giant chunk in one shot. Oh, and there was this one area where we were getting invaded where we basically just kind of stood at the end of this like pathway where there's a shortcut, but I didn't have that shortcut open yet, but we had gone down there to like grab some items or something. And this guy, like, he came running up, and I shot him once, and he just ran away. And then like he'd keep coming to kind of like see if we were going anywhere, and we would just, there's a emote that you can get called Make Contact.
Oh yeah.
And you just stand like this.
Yeah.
So we would both just be standing there like this. And it's good. It's good.
That's great.
But yeah, had a lot of fun with Bloodborne. I do want to, like, we need to figure out how to get, because I tried adding you to a voice party when you were playing the other day, and I was on, and like it said like because of your like NAT type or something, it couldn't connect.
Huh.
And I don't know, I don't think that was something on my end, because I think I might have been on the Wi-Fi and not actually hardwired that day. But I don't think that was on my end. I think I don't remember. But we need to figure that out so that we can voice chat and co-op, because it's much easier to tell each other where you are.
Yeah.
So Dark Souls playing co-op and stuff is really easy, right? If you want to help someone, you put down your summon sign, and they just walk over and select your summon sign and summon you in.
Yeah, I get how it works. And then in Bloodborne, you have the bell that tries to call somebody or whatever.
In Bloodborne, you have to ring the big bell, and the other person has to ring the small bell, and you have to wait for the game to find each other.
Huh.
And it's terrible. Like, we have this superstition that the make contact gesture actually helps you make a connection because we would sit there for like 5 minutes waiting and then we would both do make contact and then it would find each other. So we started every time we would ring the bells, we would be like, okay, I'm standing in this spot. So we'd be standing in like the exact same space. We'd both ring our bell and it's like, all right, make contact.
You're synchronizing the universe's timelines.
Yep. That's how we did it.
That's great.
But yeah, I told Matt that you had picked up a PS4 and that you had gotten Bloodborne and stuff. Yeah. And he's like, I'd be down to get in on some of that. So I'm like, I will let him know.
Awesome.
Because, yeah, we both enjoy the shit out of that game.
Yeah. I'm loving it a hell of a lot more than Dark Souls. That is for damn sure.
It's so much easier to get into. Like, it's still just as difficult. It's just the game
like,
feels so much more fair.
Yeah, like, I don't even know, like, what exactly... Like, there's less stats that you have to, like, juggle. And it's faster. It feels faster, I guess. Like, it seems...
I definitely think it's a faster-paced game.
Yeah, like, I don't know, there's something about the stamina that seems to make dodging, like, not necessarily easier, but, like, if you fuck up and dodge the wrong way, it doesn't leave you open for, like, a full minute while it recharges.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And
well, so, like, one big difference is, like, instead of, like, a roll, you have like, the kind of side dash.
Yeah, you, like, dash to the side or step back.
But then also, like, whereas Dark Souls is debatably very... counterattack based, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. Like, I remember I spent like a whole hour like practicing parrying.
Yeah.
And I still like couldn't do it.
I like suck at parrying.
Yeah.
Like, I basically use a shield just to block a hit. Like, I don't even use a shield that has parry as like an ability. So I use the shield just to block the hit, or, you know, as that safety measure of blocking in case I mess up a dodge and you know I roll. But Bloodborne alternatively has the riposte system where like you have to be aggressive. Like, you shoot them while they're like mid swing on like the right attacks to stagger them.
Yeah. And I was afraid I would, like, because of my experience with Dark Souls, I was afraid I would be shit at that, but it's a lot more forgiving. Like, it's
easier to get the timing, and the timing window for most enemies is a little wider.
Yeah, it seems like that.
There's definitely some that are a pain in the ass to get, and when it comes to bosses, staggering them is a much different sort of beast.
Yeah.
But you can stagger bosses, which is the most gratifying feeling.
Yeah. Like, that was a big part of how I beat Gascoigne, because yeah, he's a little bitch, kind of just rolling around like that. But, you know, it's like it kind of makes sense, because he's the same kind of character that you are, so it makes sense that he would be doing that kind of shit. And then he goes fucking werewolf, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna throw Molotovs at you and you're gonna die.
I mean, that works.
And then he fucking combo locked me when he had like literally a pixel of health left. Like, if I could have thrown a spitball at him, he would have died. And he just like got me in a combo, and I'm like, well, fuck. That's the closest I've been. And then I didn't have any more Molotovs after that, so I had to.
So I'm guessing you didn't find the like lore elements connected to that fight.
The music box.
Yes,
I did, but I forgot to actually use it and see what it did.
So if you go and you find the music box and like you talk to the little girl who tells you to like find her dad. When he turns into the werewolf form, if you play the music box, it'll actually like paralyze him for a few moments.
Yeah, I completely forgot that I had that until like after the fight, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't even.
Yeah, she also
tells you the connection that they were related.
Yeah, she also tells
until
you about
until I found the
mother,
the dead lady with the
pendant.
Necklace.
Yeah, the mother with the pendant. He basically went crazy and killed their mom because she forgot to bring the music box.
Huh.
That's the story to that. Huh. You can go back and tell the little girl about it.
Yeah, like I've been kind of like glancing at the wiki every once in a while just to
Yeah.
make sure I don't like irreversibly fuck anything up. But I'm not like, it's not like a strategy guide like do this, do this, do this, do
Well,
this.
yeah, you're
I'm just like, you know, it's like, am I missing anything here that I don't want to have to like backtrack for or whatever? And it's like, yeah, if you do this and this and this, you can get this stuff. And I'm like, oh, cool. That's like not vital to the story, but that would be a cool thing to have. And
Yeah.
you know, stuff like
It's just that collector brain of like, I want to
Yeah.
get the things.
to get all the things.
Yeah, that's a good just bit of lore building. I feel like the way everything connects, but like it doesn't directly state any of it to you, and you can completely miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And then you still find like a few places every once in a while where something is like outright just like, oh, you can read this piece of paper and it says, oh, the church is being dicks and they basically burned down the town trying to kill all the beasts and everything. It's like, oh, so church is a bunch of assholes. I mean, I didn't need Bloodborne to tell me that, but okay. That's good to know the in-universe church is still assholes.
yeah, there's some. The game is real interesting. Like what you get of the story just from general gameplay without really delving into anything is still like good stuff. But it's definitely one of those games where like going back through and like revisiting and re-paying attention to things, it's like, oh. I love doing that I love when games and shows can like pull that sort of thing off where like you go through it once and it's like, oh yeah, that was a good story, but then you go through it a second time and like everything makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I
I actually really like the whole like insight idea that Bloodborne has, where it's like it like affects like your perception of the world.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things that I thought was really cool when I just started reading the wiki before getting the game was like even
on your
like
radar
even on my
of
radar.
things.
Yeah, I was just reading like stuff about the system. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. It like affects like, oh, if you have this amount, then suddenly you see these gigantic monsters clinging to the sides of buildings. I'm like, that's fucking terrifying. Those were there the whole time, and I couldn't see them.
Yup. You can be killed by those in a couple areas.
Yeah, one of them grabbed me for like just out of the blue, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
The one outside of the cathedral ward, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So like it grabs you. There's like a set of armor, like by a fence.
Yeah, I think that sounds familiar.
And it grabs you.
Yeah.
So that's actually how you get into the DLC, is after you're past like a certain point and have like a certain amount of insight or something, you actually let that one grab you, but instead of like killing you, like it takes you into the DLC.
Huh. That's neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole insight idea, I'm like, that's really cool. And I wanna steal that for something. And
Right.
actually,
I love that mechanic.
because I had that idea document for the RPG idea, the like black and white monochrome one.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that one. You made a lot of sprites for that one.
Yeah, like that was how that one started. Actually, I was just like, I'm just gonna like scribble around some stuff and see what happens, and it's like, oh, that kind of looks like a thing, and I'll like refine that idea. Like, that's a really freaky looking monster. I want to make more like that. What kind of universe would these guys live in? Oh, I don't know, maybe a horrifying, bleak wasteland that's just like all these monsters. It's like, okay, cool. What kind of person would fight these monsters? And it's like, oh, I just accidentally a game.
Hey, that's how world building happens,
like,
man.
When I started reading about like the Bloodborne Insight, and I'm like, that's cool. I want to use that idea for something. And I was like, well, that would be cool if it was like a hidden stat. Like, you don't realize that the reason you can see this now that you couldn't see it before is because you've like done something else, and it like the game doesn't actually tell you. And it'd be like a hidden stat, like the anti-form tracker in Kingdom Hearts, where it's like you could manually track it if you wanted to, if you knew what you were doing, but otherwise the game's just like, yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Actually, I think an interesting way to take that, if you were to use a system like that and have it be a hidden stat, is like not only like stuff you do in the world, but like certain items you use, like affect it either up or down.
Yeah. Because like I even had a list of like hypothetical items, and one is like an item that you use it, and it's like I don't know what it did. Looks like it didn't do anything. I don't know. Maybe it did something. Who knows? And it's like it actually like increases like your basically your insight, or that equivalent. I think I called it something else, but
your insanity meter.
Yeah, or like your perception, or I forget.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to pull up the idea document and see exactly what I typed, but yeah. And then there were like certain enemies where it's like if you beat it this way, you gain knowledge. If you just wail on them and destroy them, you lose a little bit. And it's like, and if it's a certain level, it's like, oh, that previously gibberish alien symbol suddenly looks like English, and you can read it and learn more about the lore. It's like I like this idea. Someday I'll make an actual game.
I like stuff like that. Call of Cthulhu actually kind of has a system like that, where like if you investigate certain things and you like choose certain dialogue options and stuff, and you kind of like learn too much about the cult, essentially, there are certain areas where dialogue options will pop up that are like it's just fucking symbols. Like you have these options that you can choose that are essentially you like choosing the relay speak or whatever. So like if you go too far down the insanity and like look too deep and find too much, like I like the way they approached stuff in that game, and that like, because your natural reaction is you want to look into everything, you want to solve every little puzzle, but knowing too much actually
that's
is
a big
like
Lovecraftian thing
the
too.
bad
it's
thing.
Like,
yeah,
like you want to know, but you don't want to know too much, because otherwise your brain might melt.
I still want to go through another playthrough of that game. Like I haven't played it since it came out, but I want to do another playthrough and see like how much I can change by making like different decisions and like not being as like involved and like looking into everything.
Not being so inquisitive.
Yeah. And just kind of like rolling with the story at like the most basic amount possible. And then I also want to see, like, even if that doesn't change a lot, I just want to see what the different endings are. Because there's at least probably like 3 different endings from what I can tell. Because like if you know enough, when you get to the like final choice where they're like doing the ritual or whatever, the options you have are to like let them go with the ritual, to improve the ritual, or you have like the option to perform the counter ritual, which is the funniest option I've ever seen in a game, because like that's the one we chose when we were playing through, just because it seemed like, okay, well, I don't want to help them with their cults, like that goes against what I've been doing this whole time. I wanted to stop this, so like this seems like the most natural choice. So we choose perform the counter ritual, and just wordlessly you pull out a gun and like shoot the lead cultist in the head, and it's just the funniest thing. It's like perform the counter ritual, bang. Well, yeah,
you're countering the ritual. That is definitely they definitely can't continue after that.
Yeah, no, it's just like, oh, well, I mean, I guess. But yeah, that like you also like after you shoot them, like there's like this other like researcher guy that was there that basically was being held at knife point. Like you shoot the guy that was holding him, but he basically like reads some passages or whatever, and you go and you like do a thing. But then like after like the scene ends and like it goes through some stuff, like it shows you just like in an insane asylum, kind of like locked away. And I'm just kind of curious, like I feel like that's probably where it always ends, is with you in an insane asylum. But I'm just kind of curious, like what the other options kind of entail and how they play out. But yeah, nothing will ever beat perform the counter ritual. Bang. Like, I guess
It did what it said it would do.
yeah, that game had some really funny moments. It's definitely a game that's more about the atmosphere, like as far as like a horror quote unquote game goes. It's not really that like frightening. Like there's only a couple parts of the game where you really feel threatened. And one of them, it's the first time you run into this like monster. It's called like the Shambler or something, if I remember right. But it comes out of this painting while you're in this like gallery. And like luckily I had looked around a lot, because you know, before even approaching it, I was like, I gotta look at everything. And I had found like in another room a thing about like this like dagger that was supposed to be like the anti-ritual or whatever. And I had found that dagger in that like gallery area. So I was like, okay, I know exactly what I need to go for. But actually executing on what you were supposed to do was like the worst thing ever. It basically like, so like the first time, you know, I spawn in and I see the thing come out and I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to kind of like peek around and like I'm crouching behind a thing and I hear it and it sounded like it was like behind me. So I just start running. And
he
so
wasn't
like
behind you.
Yeah, basically I get out of the thing and I start running straight towards the case where that knife was. And I run right past him because he was in front of me. And I run over and I break the glass and I go to grab the knife, and then like because he was right behind me, he just like grabs me and kills me. And I died probably a dozen times in that, and pretty much every time like it just turned into me like running and screaming in circles. It was so like I wish I was recording it or streaming it because it was so good. My favorite part was there was a point where like I started just running in circles around this like there's like these two areas that are kind of off to the side, and you know there's like a corner wall, kind of like my living room setup, you know, there's that like corner wall, and then there's the two entrances. So it's kind of like that. So you got the two entrances and then like the corner wall dividing them, and it's just like a small little like cutaway room or whatever. So it starts chasing me and I start running in circles around one of those. And eventually like I get so far ahead of it that it just kind of stops.
Like...
but I keep running because I don't know it stopped. So I just run into it and I end up going the other way.
Oh my god.
And like I do this back and forth like 5 times.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was so funny. Like it was like 4 a.m. I think by this point, like while we were playing it, and yeah, we were just I was running in circles and screaming, and oh, it was good. It was good. It's a good game. Wow. I really like that game. I don't know if it was it's one of those things where it's like looking back, I don't know if it was worth picking it up brand new, but I'm glad I did, because like that was like what we did for Halloween essentially. Was we got together and we just played that. So it was fun. But wow. But yeah. That game I think has a good system for that though. For just the you know too much, so bad things happening now.
The knowledge is power though. Yeah. And too much power and
too much power is bad.
Your brain goes splat.
But speaking of PS4 stuff and stuff we've played recently, how do you feel about Kingdom Hearts 3? I'm kind of curious.
It was good. I mean, it was definitely polished. Like it was a solid. I think I told you it was like a 6 or 7. I think I would say it's a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, just like looking back and thinking back about like everything that was there, like everything it has is good. It's way too fucking easy, like even for a Kingdom Hearts game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played it on like normal difficulty because I wasn't sure going in, because I know like Kingdom Hearts 2, it's like super easy unless you play it on like
Proud mode.
proud mode. Yeah, I had the option there, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this new one, because I thought maybe they would adjust the difficulty appropriately for it being, you know, the third game in this. Well, I mean, the third game of like the third that game, kind of for what it is. I wasn't sure if it would, but no, it was definitely way too easy. Like, I died once, like in combat. Like any other time I saw a game over screen, it was from fucking up a mini game that was like, it didn't, like, I wasn't quite sure how to react to what it was going on, because like there's this part near the end where you're like in this big giant maze of like ruins, and there's this part where you're trying to get to your friends, and there's like a like you know that game show where people have like the wall coming toward them and they like have to make like the weird shape.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that, but a little less not quite as silly.
Yeah,
but there's like a door that's closing and you have to get to it before, and you have to like do these reaction commands, and I fucked it up the first time because I didn't know quite what was going on, but then like the second time it's like, oh, that's just zip 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 zip, and then you're through the door. Like that was the only other time I saw a game over screen ever.
Okay.
And then there's an item you can get. It's basically like a one-time extra life, so it's like auto revive if you die. And the one time I actually died in combat, like that thing saved me, so it was like whatever. But yeah, I mean it's awesome. Like there's a lot of epic moments in there, like not like internet epic, like oh that's epic, like scale wise, like there was some really cool, awesome stuff going on. And it starts out really good, like it starts you out in Olympus, you know, with Hercules and all that, and it looks really good. Like the world is massive, and there's a lot of stuff to do in that first world, and then it just kind of just like fades out, and like it's just like all the rest of the worlds are like the Toy Story one was cool because there was a lot of like background stuff that you could see, but there wasn't much to interact with.
Okay.
And then everything else was just, you know, like, yeah, this is a Disney world. I'm fighting shadow monsters in a Disney world with Disney characters.
I've heard the Frozen world is particularly disappointing.
It was
like you climb up a mountain to get knocked down to climb it up.
You climb up the mountain again, you get thrown off again, then you go to an ice maze. That makes no sense for the character who throws you in there, but did you see the game theory about that?
Yeah, I did.
That makes a whole lot more sense if you think about it that way. And I'm like, there's no way that's not what happened. Like Disney was being there was some Disney meddling in that to make that level as bad as it was.
I also heard there's just not a lot of worlds. So
there's
like
not.
So you got Olympus, Frozen, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Big Hero 6,
Tangled. And
is that it?
I mean, you go back to Twilight Town, and then there's the Keyblade Graveyard, which is like and there's the final boss like area is like technically its own world, and it looks really cool, but there's fuck all that you do there besides fighting the boss.
So I wouldn't really count that. It's more of just a boss arena than anything.
Yeah, like it has its own like fancy like intro and everything, and you think, oh cool, one more world to explore, and it's an original, unique world, and all we're doing is fighting the boss. Cool.
That's so, like, I feel like that's like half of what Kingdom Hearts 2 had.
Yeah, like it really feels like there's like it's like half of what Kingdom Hearts 2 was. Like even in terms of like all the extra stuff that you can do, like I 100%ed it.
Yeah.
Like I platinumed that. I got all the achievements,
I
all
saw
the items, all the shit that you can do in that.
Platinum trophy.
I couldn't do that in Kingdom Hearts 2 for sure, because there were so many secret bosses and extra bosses and stuff that were too hard to beat.
The fucking final mix bosses are bullshit.
Yeah, and there's one thing that like approximates Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 3, and I mean it goes down like a bitch if you have Ultimate Weapon and you're any level higher than like 60.
That's the other thing that I think really disappointing is like I heard there's like no Final Fantasy stuff.
There's not. There's Moogles, and there's there's like a Cactar cameo kind of thing. Like it's in the Toy Story world. You have to like build up a. You have to like go to these places, push a button, and make like a platform that goes up to another thing, and it's shaped like a Cactar, and it plays like the Final Fantasy victory music when you do that. And I'm like, that's a cool cameo. Where's all the Final Fantasy characters?
Yeah.
And someone pointed out that well, because they're all in Hollow Bastion, and you never go to Hollow Bastion in Kingdom Hearts 3. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah, it's like, but why not? Like,
I mean, Sid was the gummy guy. He could take them all to fucking anywhere he wants to go. He could take them all to the Keyblade Graveyard, and we could have fucking Cloud Omni slash Xehanort to death for all I care. But they're just not there. At all.
That's...
I don't think they even mention them.
I feel like it's such a missed opportunity. I don't know. I feel like there should have been a lot more worlds.
Like, not even the ones who were in Twilight Town, and you go to Twilight Town, and they're not there.
Yeah. It's... I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, what's there is good. It's just that what's not there makes it bad.
Yeah. It's
really
one of those things where it's like when you're playing it, you're like, oh, this is pretty fun. This is good. I'm having a good time with it. But then, like, afterwards, you're kind of looking back and you're like, that's it? But where's everything else?
Yeah, exactly.
That's... Yeah.
Like, I don't even, like, care about, like, the story. Like, I thought the story, it's like, yeah, it's cool. They resolved it. It's, this part of the story is done. You know, the bad guy is... You know, we did all this stuff with him, and, you know, and they left it open for another one, or they're continuing the story or something that, I don't know. I don't care about that as much. Like, the game itself was lackluster. Like, just in terms of things to do.
That's kind of the general consensus I've heard about the game, so, like... There was a lot of initial hype, and a lot of people were really excited about it, and then it was just kind of like...
So, yeah, it was alright.
Like, it was okay.
I mean, it's not the...
not
the worst game ever. It falls short of Kingdom Hearts 2, I would say.
Like, so one of the things that actually, like, kind of kills it a lot for me, like... Because I was really on the fence about it. I was like, it's probably not going to live up to what it could have been. It's probably going to be a disappointment after all these years. It's been like 13 years since Kingdom Hearts 2. There's no way it's going to be that good. It's impossible for it to live up to the hype. But like, it might still be worth picking up. And like, I debated on it. And I decided not to pick it up. I was like, you know what, I'll wait. And then I learned that they more or less completely took out gummy missions. Like, you kind of move around the world, like between worlds in a gummy ship, but you don't really have the big sprawling shoot 'em ups.
It's less of a rail shoot 'em up than they were in the previous games. I liked it, honestly, but I don't know, like, I can see it looking like it's definitely dumbed down, but there are bosses, and it's less.
See,
it's not really as well. I'm trying to think.
Like I looked into it a little bit, and like for me, like my favorite part of the game was making gummy ships in the first two games. Like the first game, like the gummy missions themselves are kind of but making gummy ships was fun. The second game, once I really got into making ships, I fucking loved making ships. And I loved just doing the missions. Like, I 100%ed all the gummy stuff in Kingdom Hearts 2, and, like, I still would make new ships to fly through missions. Like, I made Samus's gunship, I made an R-Wing, I made a Star Destroyer, I made Pac-Man, I made Trogdor, I made a Guitar Hero controller. Like,
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
So many things in that game just because I could, and I wanted an excuse to do more gummy missions.
Yeah, and like now that I'm thinking about it, it's definitely like not on the same level as Kingdom Hearts 2, because in Kingdom Hearts 2 the gummy missions, like, there were different settings.
Yeah, you had,
and like there were
three versions of each map, essentially.
Yeah, and each one had like its own variety of enemies. Like there's the one where you're going down like the highway, and then there's like the motorcycle guys just kind of like flying around there, and Kingdom Hearts 3 doesn't have any of that. It's like the same 6 or 7 Heartless ships that you fight. Like and you can just go right past them. You don't even have to fight them. I don't think you have to fight any of the bosses except if you want ultimate. No, I don't think. I don't think it was part of the Ultimate Weapon stuff, but like
the
aside from the achievement, but like
the only thing I saw that I thought was really cool is there's
Einhander stuff.
yeah, there's the hidden boss that is the final boss of Einhander, which
Yeah.
fucking they need to stop putting Einhander cameos and stuff because it's just making me
And
want
just
them
make
to
another
make
one.
a new one. Like just make a new Einhander. Stop putting in these fucking cameos.
Yeah.
There's a cameo of Einhander in Final Fantasy 14.
Wow.
Like it's not even like a recent thing either. Like it's in like 2.0. Like you could buy the base game with no expansions, and if you go through all the base game story for A Realm Reborn, like one of the last dungeons, the first boss is Einhander. And it's like this big bird thing with like this one little hand, and like during the fight it'll fly up and it'll come down and it'll be holding like different weapons. So like the first time it does it goes and gets like a pole that it just tries to smack you with, but then it goes and it gets a Gatling gun, and then it goes and it gets like a laser cannon. It's like it didn't even click to me the first few times I ran the dungeon because I never pay attention to boss names. And then like I think there was a point where I was tanking it and I was like, wait a minute, this thing's name is Einhander. And oh my god, it's coming down with like the gun pods, and like that's the coolest thing to me. Like
See,
that
what that
cameo.
tells me is that there are people in Square Enix who like they probably made the original one and they're trying to show like somebody higher up at Square Enix like, people liked this game, let us make another one, please. We're gonna keep putting cameos and shit until there's enough demand for us to, it's like, hey, let's make another one.
Yeah. Well, like fucking World of Final Fantasy, which, so just to give you like a base understanding of how that game plays, it's essentially Final Fantasy Pokemon.
Oh.
Like you have your two main characters, and then like you essentially catch like monsters, and you can like train them and like turn them into like different forms, and like you make stacks, so you have like one large, one medium, and one small, like per stack. And like your main characters have a medium form and a large form, so you can either be like normal person sized or like little chibi person. But one of the, and they're called mirages, that's how they refer to the like the things you catch essentially. But one of the DLC mirages is the main ship from Einhander.
Oh.
Like it's a DLC. You have to buy it.
Wow.
And it's like it's just in the game.
That's awesome.
There's also similarly another PS1 game that Square has shown no love to in 20 years. There's in World of Final Fantasy there's a Xenogears cameo. One of the like big, I think it's one of the summon ones you can get, but like one of the big mirages is the final mech from Xenogears, the actually named Xenogears, like the final mech of the game, and like that's just a thing you can get in the game.
That's awesome.
And it's like that's really cool that cameo's there. And then they've also been doing this thing recently, like they're doing a crossover with putting Xenogears units in their phone game Brave Exvius, like currently. And then they also, like within the last year, released like their play arts figures of like the two main characters and the main character's like mech, his first one, Weltall. Like they've been releasing this stuff recently, and it's like, are you guys going to remake this game? Because I really want you to remake this game. Like, I love the game. It's really good. It's really fun. It has one of the best combat systems in any RPG I've ever played. And then Disc 2 happens. Like, the story is still good. It's just, instead of the story being something you really, like, experience and see a lot of stuff happen.
It's basically just told.
Yeah, it basically gives you, like, a character sitting there and, like, a static image in the background and a wall of text. And then like it'll throw you in a dungeon or it'll throw you in a boss fight.
They did an Evangelion and they ran out of money.
Yes. Like the start of the game, like the first maybe 5 hours of gameplay, like almost like every like cutscene moment you get like a fully animated like anime cutscene with like full voice acting. And then they just kind of stop. Like, you don't really realize it at first, but they just kind of, like, trickle off and they stop doing them as much. Like, you get, like, one or two here or there. But yeah, you stop getting like the fully animated anime cutscenes, and then like you hit disc 2 and you really see where they run out of money, and it's just like, oh, this game had so much potential, and like it's still really good. Like I would still give that game like a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 probably. Like I still think it is one of the most fun games to play, but you can tell they ran out of money, and I would love to see a remake where they just fully embrace what it could have been. But don't change the combat system, please. Like, it's so good. I love the combat. Like, maybe if there's a way to make it better without changing it.
Like minor tweaks. Like,
Yeah.
Like quality of life kind of stuff.
Because essentially it's a combo system.
Huh.
So, like, triangle is a light attack, square is a medium attack, X is a heavy attack. Triangle uses 1 energy, square uses 2 energy, X uses 3 energy. And, like, at the start of the game, you just have 3 energy units to use per turn, but like as you level up and get through the game, you get more energy units to use. I think 7 is where it caps out. And then depending on like the order you press the buttons in, you can learn like finishing moves called death blows. So you like triangle square X or whatever is like 1 death blow, and it's like a super combo, and they're just like these really cool. It's such a cool system, and like I'm sad that there's nothing else like it because it's so fun. But yeah, Square needs to stop putting cameos to games that they're never going to remake in their new games because it makes me sad.
But Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy. Most ironically named RPG series in history.
What do you mean it's saved our company? That's not what was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be the last ditch effort. What do you mean it worked? Well,
hey, good.
I guess we should make another one.
Make another one.
Yeah.
Just keep going until we stop making money off of them.
Yeah, I mean, recent years, ones that have come out to very mixed reception. I think 14 is the only one that has a just generally flat line, like they did good, and even then, like the original incarnation of 14 was so bad they pretty much immediately
I've heard that they just like it's like nope, we're nuking it.
Well,
here's a good one.
Here's the thing with that. I found out that apparently like it wasn't like this is like it was out for a while and this is bad and we should like redo it and like we're just gonna finish this out and then like make a new version. They were actually working on the new version of the game simultaneously while still releasing content for the original version of the game to like keep it like going.
Well,
so like
I mean that makes sense.
They kept releasing they basically brought in a new director. They kept releasing content while building the other like new version of the game from the ground up. So they were basically working on 2 completely different builds of the same MMO at the same time.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy, people. But I mean, it worked.
You could have made it good the first time and saved yourself the trouble, but
that's why they brought in a new director on it, basically. But it worked. The game's really successful. Yeah. The new expansion comes out later this year. I'm a little salty about some of the decisions they made, but I'm not going to get into that because it's just going to go all over your head.
Yeah. 13 was blah. I've heard 15 is like good.
So 15 is very mixed. You either love it or you hate it.
It's that kind of good.
So like not only is the combat system a lot different for 15, but like it's also kind of more of like an open world thing. But it's only an open world thing for the beginning of the game. And like as you get to the later parts of the game, it instead of being like this big open sprawling thing, it kind of starts like pushing you into like these small corridors and like hallways and stuff.
So it's like playing any other Final Fantasy game backward.
More or less.
You start with the open world and then gradually get pushed into corridors.
Yeah, essentially. Like that's kind of the way I've heard it. Is it's like a reverse any other Final Fantasy, basically, like a reverse 10.
Somebody was like, "Hey, people really don't like 13 for taking so long to get to the open world parts." It's like, well, why don't we start with that and just go gradually towards the less open world parts? It's like, so you start with the good stuff and then go towards well, isn't it supposed to get better as you go along?
Like, it's one of those things where, like, generally people who were able to get into the game and played all the way through it really liked the characters and the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then those who didn't really get into it just couldn't, like, they didn't really click well with the gameplay.
Huh.
That's kind of
how many made-up words would you need to summarize a paragraph for it?
That's a good question.
Because that was a thing for 13. I know it's like,
oh god,
like the whatchamacallits, they pissed off the what's guys, and then they got turned into these fuckamajigs, and now they're like gonna turn into these monsters called whatever the fuck, and it's like,
sorry, what?
Like,
yeah,
the more made up words you need, the weaker your fantasy is usually.
Well, like, it's one of those things where, because I mean, there are other games where it's like it's a lot of jargon, and like they just give you all this jargon, and it's just all meaningless fluff, like, until you have the context. And like, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Elder Scrolls games, right? Like, the Elder Scrolls games have a lot of jargon. Like, fucking, if you play through the opening of Skyrim, it throws out, like, a bunch of city and god names and stuff in the first, like, 5 minutes that are, like, if you've never played an Elder Scrolls game, all of that means absolutely nothing to you. Like, it's just a bunch of nonsense.
But, I mean, like, there's a difference between like proper nouns, because those are always going to be names, and those aren't going to mean anything to you without context. But it's like, oh, you're a that thing. It's like, what the fuck is that? You just made up a word and called him that. I don't know what that is. What does that even mean?
Well,
it's like, well, it's a kind of monster that looks like this. It's like, why don't you just say you're a monster? Like, you can point out that they're not human or whatever, and say it's like, yeah, you're a this thing. But it's like, oh, the great god, like Akatosh or whatever. It's like, okay, he's a god. His name is Akatosh. That makes sense. I have that context. Versus, it's like what the fuck is a fal'Cie?
Yeah. Well, no, and that's kind of what I was saying. That was like there's a right way and a wrong way to have that much like jargon and like weird terminology and stuff, and you have to introduce it right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the weaker points of 13. I can go for hours on like where I think 13 did bad and where I think it did good. And I've had this discussion with a lot of people, because I know a lot of people who love 13. And I look at them and I go, but it's so awful. But like at the same time, like,
I don't know if I would say it's even awful. I would just say not good.
It is a 50-hour movie, a very pretty movie, but not a good movie. That is how I would describe 13. As someone who has played all the way through it and beaten the game, it's 50 hours, it's very pretty, but it's not very good.
Yeah, I guess. I guess it would depend on like your standards for it. Like, if you hold it to the standards of any other Final Fantasy game, yeah, it's a shit show, because it's so different and it does everything by itself. Like, you barely have to do anything, and yet.
Well, yeah, gameplay wise, it plays itself. I fell asleep and I beat a boss. That shouldn't happen. I should have woken up to a game over screen, not a cutscene.
So the gameplay is as simple as the story is pretty much incomprehensible.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like you take out all the weird terminology and you break down the story to like its most basic parts, and it's pretty generic.
Good guy rebels, bad guy empire, go.
More or less.
I mean,
like
yeah.
It's along those lines. I'm
honestly kind of sick of that, like, being a thing too. It's like, oh, the government is evil and we're just a small band of rebels that we have to beat them. It's like, I've seen this 100 times. I want the Empire to win this time, and that's why I joined the Empire in Skyrim. And
that's
like, fuck the Stormcloaks. I want the rightful
know.
government will win this time. I mean, and for one thing, like the the Empire in Skyrim like hasn't done anything like objectively wrong. You know, it's not like the Empire in Star Wars where they blew up a planet and killed like 8 billion people in one go.
Yeah.
It's like, that's pretty objectively evil.
I have a mixed feeling on that like plot device. Like on one hand, yes, it's very generic and overdone, and it's been done way too many times. But on the other hand, like I don't necessarily hate it.
It has to be like there has to be like a twist on it. Like Star Wars, it's like, yeah, they're in space. They're spaceships. That's a thing. They can blow up planets.
Yeah.
That's unique enough that I'm not I don't have to suspend my disbelief that this is a small force fighting the evil big force, Empire rebels and all that. It doesn't take me out of it. I mean, as much as it can be taken out of a sci-fi fantasy story.
Yeah.
It's like, if we want to really go suspension of disbelief, there should be no sound for any of these explosions, or these lasers should not be sounding like that. Lasers don't even work that way. It's clearly plasma or whatever, You
get all like nitpicky about it.
Yeah. Like, you don't bring real world physics into sci-fi and fantasy. It's you're just asking for people to like shit on you. It's like, yeah, you're nitpicking. It's like, but it's on the other hand, it's also cool in some places where they actually like do try to keep it realistic. Like there's the part at the beginning of one of the Star Trek, like the newer Star Treks, where it's like somebody gets sucked out into space and suddenly the sound just cuts out. It's like, that's what that would be like, and that's fucking terrifying and awesome.
Yeah.
Or like in Alien Isolation, there's like the part where you get in a spacesuit and go outside at the space station, and it's like the only sound you hear is what you would hear like through like stuff like vibrating throughout your suit.
Yeah.
Like footsteps, and like nothing else is making any noise, and like that's cool. That's
a game I need to play, is Alien Isolation. Yeah. Real bad.
It's good.
One day I'll get to it. One day. I've seen it played, so it's like it's not like a huge priority for me, but
if it wasn't so damn long.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair.
It could stand to be half as long as it is, and still have like all the important story moments, all of the like character, development and all that.
Has a little too much fluff.
Little too much fluff. Too many fake outs. It's like, oh, you definitely killed the alien this time.
Joke's on you. There's actually a whole nest.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing you don't see is a queen, which kind of introduces a couple of plot holes, because it's like the whole thing started when they brought this one alien on board the spaceship and they weren't supposed to. It's like, how is there a nest now? Where's the queen? You can't tell me that's
a good point.
You can't tell me that the one alien that got on board happened to be a queen, because that's not how that works.
I didn't even think about that, and now that you've brought it up, it bothers me.
I think it might not be like current canon or whatever, but I think there's like some point where they mention that like any drone can turn into a queen under the right circumstances, and that's what happened. But yeah, they don't actually explain why there's suddenly a nest of aliens when only one got on board. It's like, where did all the eggs come from? Where did the facehuggers come from? Where did all these other fucking aliens come from after you killed the one? Moreover, where were all these other aliens when you were dealing with the one?
I mean, I think it's like partially implied that the reason why it seemed like the alien was everywhere you went was because you weren't running into the same alien every time.
That would make sense too, because
like you would go to completely different sections of the ship and like, why is the alien here again?
Yeah, but you still never see more than one at a time, and I know that's like a gameplay thing, because it's bad enough having to run and hide and shit your pants when you see one of them. And, then you go down into the nest and there's like 3 or 4 of them at a time. Imagine that through the whole game. That would be not as much fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like there's a reason why they don't reveal that there's a nest and have you confront multiple at the same time until you have the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's a gameplay thing at that point.
I know. But
and you gotta kind of give them some leeway for...
Yeah, it's a good game. There's always going to be stuff to nitpick, no matter, like... The best game in the world has stuff you can nitpick.
That's true. So, speaking of space and the best game in the world, Borderlands 3.
Fucking Borderlands! We didn't even talk about Borderlands, and that was we were in fucking Steam chat, and I'm like, we need to talk about Borderlands on SpellCast because that's like a thing we do. And we've gone like a whole hour, and we didn't even mention it.
Well, and I kept thinking about it too. Like it kept like going through my head, but like we were going on other topics. But like I do want to bring down to Borderlands. And by the way, when I'm speaking best game ever, I'm of course talking about Borderlands 2. Because, God, that game is so good.
It really
and I
is.
hope 3 lives up to what 2 was.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, unlike a certain other third installment that we were talking about earlier.
I like the pre-sequel. It's not terrible.
It's a good side story.
Yeah, like it's a good in-between story, and like now that I'm playing Athena, I'm actually getting a lot more into it. She is a much more interesting character to play as than the others were for me. Like not just from like a mechanic standpoint, but just from a like character personality standpoint. Cause like originally my solo character was going to be Wilhelm. I was like, okay, he's got the drones, he's kind of the turret class. I'll play Wilhelm. And I just didn't like Wilhelm. Like the drones weren't as fun as didn't seem as interesting as the turret was. And which you would think they would be more interesting because they're not stationary, but
yeah, you think,
but also
they had so much more room to give them like personality too and stuff. So it's
like
it could interact with them.
I just couldn't get into the game as him. And then every time I tried to play the game with someone, so the first character I started with someone was Jack's doppelganger, who he's really funny. Like there's a line he has at the end of one of the quests where it's like, why would this why would a low end like code monkey need a doppelganger or whatever, and he's like, well, to put a long story short, he has high aspirations and I have student loans. Yeah. There's bits like that in his dialogue that are just really good, but I just didn't get into him gameplay wise a lot. And then the other character I wanted to play was the Baroness, which is Hammerlock's sister, and I hate her as a character. Like, she is the stuck up rich bitch.
Oh yeah,
and I've never been a fan of that character archetype. But she has one of the coolest skill trees I think I've ever seen, but it's completely co-op.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's the one that's like
she has the contract.
Focused. Yeah.
So you hold out the contract, one player can melee it, and they become your servant, and you're their master. And whenever one of you gets a kill, it gives the other one buffs.
Huh.
But you can't play that skill tree solo.
Yeah.
So every time I played that game with someone, we'd get to the same point around level 10, and then they'd never play again.
Yeah.
And so I just kept getting left behind and just having no one to play with. But I started playing Athena. I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna start over again. But I like her a lot more as a character, both from a gameplay and a personality perspective. The shield is so ridiculously OP. I love that stupid shield. So the skill tree I'm going down is the shield focus tree. While I have the shield out, I have increased movement speed, increased fire rate, allies and myself, anyone near me gets a bunch of health regen. And then I've hit the point in the skill tree where any shots that hit the shield, it absorbs the elements as well. So normally you hold the shield, you're completely invincible from attacks from the front. Mm-hmm. Nothing can hurt you from the front. The shield just absorbs all the damage, and then after the cooldown runs out, or if you manually hit the button, you throw the shield out and it does damage based on how much it absorbed, and based on your level. So it's still kind of capped. You're not gonna one shot the final boss at level 1 or whatever.
Yeah, that's.
But
not that would be all that hard to do. But
fair enough. But but yeah, it always does explosion damage. But once you get that skill, it absorbs elements. So it'll start picking up all the elements. So you throw it and it'll just do every elemental type if you're hit with it.
That's badass.
There's a skill in that skill tree that I'm not quite at yet. But I'm probably once I get the one, because right now I'm putting points into the one that increases the duration. But once I finish putting points into that, the next one I want to get, it lets allies shoot into your shield. And it'll absorb damage from allies. So it's just quick, hit me with a free shot.
Pew, pew.
And then, of course, the final skill in the tree lets it bounce between multiple targets before it returns to you. So you can really Captain America the shit out of people. So I look forward to like going all the way down that skill tree. But there's a clip. I think I put it in my YouTube favorites, so I'll probably bring it up here after we finish recording. But like her interactions with Janie Springs at the beginning of the game are just some of my favorite.
Oh.
Like I always liked Janie as a character, but like Janie and Athena, like they have some great fucking back and forth. It's good. I like it. But yeah.
I like the pre-sequel. I wish they had done more with it. Like the end game stuff is not. There's not really much there.
Yeah.
Like the only thing is like the raid boss, like the big raid boss that like most of the Borderlands games have now.
Yeah.
I guess. It's just you fight the final boss again, but he does more damage and has more HP, and that's all there is to it. You use the same like attacks, like the first phase. It's like he has like a bunch of different element shields, and you knock the shield out, and he goes to the next phase, and then there's like the giant like face mask thing, and you just shoot him in the face a bunch of times, and he dies. And that's a raid boss. You're supposed to need a full team of 4 high-level people for that. I soloed it.
Yeah. Like, they didn't release as much DLC for that one as they did too, and, like, you can tell that they realized that one wasn't as well received. Like,
I don't get why, though. Like, it was...
It's one of those things where, like, I think it had a lot of good mechanics and a
like...
lot of good ideas to it. I think it didn't click as well with people because of what was in the base game wasn't enough, I guess.
I mean, it's not
like you said, like the raid boss you get at endgame is so lackluster, you know, and
it's just the final boss of the game again, stronger.
Yeah, I would have liked to see like more of the like storyline DLCs and stuff come out for that one.
Yeah, and the stuff that they added, like the oxygen kit, like idea, it's like there's a lot they can do with that. Like even like the legendary one that I managed to get lucky enough to get, like both an early game version and then a higher level version. I got another one later on, and I'm like, oh cool, it's like it's scaled up with me. That's cool, but it's like cool because it's like a little robot, and it beeps sometimes when you take damage, and it'll like drop health kits and stuff for you, and like that's awesome.
That's neat.
So it's an oxygen kit that's like high level, and it's legendary, and it's a little robot that beeps at me.
I do like the Oz kits, but I'm not sure I like them more than the relics, because that's what they replaced. Like, and to be fair, like
they serve more of a function.
Yeah, they have more function.
Like the relics, it's just like extra effect.
Yeah.
And then the Oz kits, it's like,
well,
you have a reason for having this, plus, you know, whatever effects there might be.
Well, yeah, like the Oz, some Oz kits give buffs for having less oxygen, some give buffs for having more oxygen, some give buffs when you're in a vacuum, some give buffs when you're in not a vacuum.
Yeah. And then there's just the general capacity, which,
yeah,
aside from being your ability to breathe in a vacuum, it has mobility purposes.
Yeah,
like some
double jumping around pre-sequel constantly, and then like going and doing a little bit of Borderlands 2. Like, you miss that double jump.
Damn, I need to get used to not being able to do that.
The ground pound thing was fun.
Yeah.
But
and there were elemental versions of that too, weren't there?
Yep.
Like a fire bound.
Yeah, you could get different element versions of it. Like, I really like the Oz kits, and there's a lot you can do with them. I almost feel like it's too much, because like you already have shields, which have a lot of like different effects on them, and then you have like your class mods, which have a lot of different effects on them, and then you have your grenade mod, which there's a lot of different effects that you can get on it. Though, why would you ever use grenades other than transfusion grenades? Because they're so good. They home in on things and they heal you.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, if you have a build that's already got decent healing, then yeah, you can like maybe.
But they
maybe
still
go for some-
home in on things.
Yeah, that's
Like-
also true. But you can also get like other grenades that do homing though, so it depends.
Yeah, I don't know.
But-
I just
Yeah, like in my run of Borderlands 1 that I just finished like the other day, I never realized how critical healing was in that one. Like, there are almost no healing shields, and the ones that do have it are always really slow.
well,
So it's like you
that
have
was
to.
the thing with the first one. Like in the second one, they took out the shields that gave you healing because the healing was so important in the first one. Like you never used any shield other than the ones that had the built-in healing
Yeah.
because
Like, I was passing up stuff that was like twice the capacity just because it didn't have healing, and I'm like, I need that. Like, even though I've maxed out my turret's healing field, that's good in a pinch, but I need something that's gonna keep me going long term.
yeah,
Because I can't
no,
count on can't count on pickups all the time. So
my
but, yeah, like,
first.
that was,
Yeah,
and then I got like a really good transfusion grenade, and I'm like, okay, that's gonna help with
Yeah.
with my severe lack of healing ability now.
well, and they put a lot more healing in your skill trees in the second game. I noticed, and
Yeah,
same
for
with
sure.
the pre-sequel. Like
Yeah.
every character has some sort of healing ability in one of their skill trees.
Yeah.
But like I remember in my first run of the first game, there's a quest where you have to go kill like this specific midget, and he drops like it.
Yeah,
It's generally
yeah,
one of
and
the first healing shields you find.
yeah,
I used that shield almost until the end of the game.
yeah.
Because
I had it
I
for a
couldn't-
while, and then like
I eventually found a better healing shield that like had better capacity and healed for more, but until I found that shield I did not switch off of that one.
yeah, it was a. Yeah, I know the exact one you're talking about too. 'Cause,
Yeah. But and at first I was really sad when I played the second one and there was no healing shields, like when I realized like I couldn't find any anywhere. But there's so many like good healing abilities just in your skill trees that you don't need them.
for real. Like,
Especially the siren. Holy
Yeah.
fuck.
like, oh god, I'm dying. Phase lock. Bzzzt. Hey, look, I've got all my health back. And
I
that
have
thing
this
is
guy
dying.
phase locked, and while he's phase locked, I'm healing. And oh look, he died, and now health orbs pop out, and we're healing. She has so much. Just hey,
And not
everyone's
only
healing.
that, while something is phase locked, I do like 5 times more damage and shoot 10 times faster, and everything just dies around me. So if I ever fight a boss, I just phase lock the nearest minion, unload on the boss, phase lock the next minion.
More or less. Yeah. No. The siren is real good in 2, but it's been so for 3. There's been a lot of like leaks and stuff, I guess, that have been like going around that like a lot of people were kind of skeptical on, but like now that we've been getting the trailers, we've been seeing stuff in the trailers, even in the parts where it's like flashing really quick. Like if you actually like take the
Yeah.
time to look at each of those
Go
sections,
frame by frame, dissect it.
like there's a lot in the trailers that seems to be confirming the stuff that we were hearing from the leaks.
Yeah, like I remember like forever ago, like back when the existence of Borderlands 3 was still just a rumor. They hadn't even confirmed it yet, but someone was like, yeah, this is kind of the idea of the 4 playable characters. It's like there's this guy who does this thing, and there's this guy who does a thing with animals. He's like a beastmaster, and it's like, that's cool. And then they announced in the trailers that, and it's like, that's the things that guy was talking about.
Yeah, so apparently from the leaks, so like none of this has been actually confirmed yet, but from the leaks it's been implied that instead of having 3 separate skill trees, you're just going to have 1 skill tree for each character.
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
But also you're going to have 3 action skills.
Yeah, and that sounds cool, but it might be overkill. I don't know.
Well,
Like it depends
really
on
depends on what characters have what and how it's executed.
yeah,
You know?
and how they like interact with each other. Like
But like for like the new
like
siren character,
ideally there wouldn't be any like I think ideally you should be able to solo the game with any individual character. Like there
Yeah.
shouldn't be
There should be no like
it's not
required
like
character.
this is the character to play co-op with. This is the character if you want to solo with, and everybody else is just like, yeah, whatever. Like, so it's none of that like where it's contingent on you playing with somebody.
Yeah.
But it's like it'd be cool
Like,
if you did kind of deal.
Well, so like I like skill trees like that. Like I said, like with the Baroness, I really like the idea of that skill tree. It's just you can't use it solo.
Yeah.
The gunner for the new game, I think her name it's like Moz or Mosey or something.
Yeah.
Her like one of her things is she summons a mech.
Yeah.
That she pilots.
That's going to be my
but
character.
another player can climb
it's
onto
like
the mech and use the turret. So like it has a co-op use, but you can still use it solo.
Yeah.
And like I like that you have that
That's
option.
fucking cool.
But like the siren, we've seen in trailers now her doing like because she summons the big the fucking 6-arm Ashura thing going on.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the trailer her doing it like an actual like ground pound sort of thing.
And that's like one of her attacks or one of the action skills is like the
fists and the ground pound.
Fist of God.
But we've also seen there's also like one of those like quick scenes where you see phase lock being used, but like it's not like Maya's phase lock. It's like it's a big hand holding a guy in an orb.
Huh.
So it's like a different thing.
I saw that. Is it one of the like the giant like magic arms doing that?
Well, like it's like it's a separate hand that's just kind of like, but like it's from her perspective, she's like shooting at a guy and like you see a dude that's being held up, and then
maybe that might just be like it might be Maya doing that like in the game and they just like added like graphical stuff because like in the
and that's something that's been brought up.
The Game of the Year thing for Borderlands 1, they re-released it and touched up all the animation and stuff. I saw the comparison that you showed me, and they show Angel's face, and it's like weirdly like computery and holographic and all that.
Yeah, it's the way it was in 2.
Was it like that in 2?
Yeah,
I thought they used like the live action thing in 2.
No, it was all like computery in 2. Like go back and look at 2 again.
It has been a while since I played it, but I could have sworn they kept the like live action like weird effect that was cool and I liked that and that really threw me off when I suddenly saw that in 1 and I'm like, what the fuck did they do to Angel? That's weird. I don't like that.
that is a little divisive. I've noticed like some people aren't as keen
I mean it's
on
not
that.
it's not like it's not gonna push me away from the game or anything. Like it just kind of threw me off. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like, are they trying to tell us that's what they wanted it to look like from the beginning, and they would have done that if they could?
I think it's more of a like consistency thing. Like they did it so it would match with 2 better. But yeah, like that is something that was that was brought up is like it could just be a section of the game where you're fighting alongside Maya and she's phase locking someone, and it's
just like a graphical like
it's a new
thing.
Graphic thing. But again, this is like partially based on like information of the leaks of like what has been kind of talked about, and then the stuff we've actually seen that is more or less like being like, okay, like at least some of this is definitely right. But yeah, I don't know. Like,
I don't know if the new villains are gonna top Jack.
Jack
like
is such a good villain.
That is like the big thing that like most concerns me is that the villains aren't gonna be as good as Jack. There's no way they can be.
That's true.
Like they don't. I don't know. Like I want to give it a chance, but I'm like every time they say something sarcastic or they're being evil, I'm like, it's not as good as they're not as good as Handsome Jack. I mean, I'm trying to let them be their own villain and do something different, but
we'll see how they be as good. We'll see how they handle it. Like I hope they don't just try to like retread the same ground as they did with Handsome, because Handsome Jack was very like sarcastic and cocky and like I hope they don't try to retread that same sort of ground with those characters. I don't think they will, based on what I've seen and
but
heard
then
about them.
at the same time, like every character in Borderlands, like every major character is kind of a sarcastic dick.
Kinda, yeah.
So I mean, it would make sense for them to at least be a little bit like that. But
Well, yeah.
But Jack like was extreme, and it was awesome. So maybe they won't go that far, but
We'll see how they handle it. It might be interesting just because since there are like 2 main antagonists, you might get like a lot more back and forth between them.
yeah, and there was like a thing, like I guess like one of them is like a siren and one of them like steals siren powers or something.
Yeah, so it's not confirmed, but is heavily like it was part of the leaks and it was heavily like implied that like he has some way to like steal or borrow or siphon siren powers. And there's the scene in the trailer where you see Lilith and she's like crawling and her siren tattoos are gone,
and then they're like in the background doing some like weird handshake or something. It's like did he just take her powers, or did he like temporarily drain them? Because I mean,
we'll see how that's handled. The thing that I am most worried about with 3 is, are they going to kill characters again?
I mean, they're gonna have to,
right? Like
it feels like they have to,
like
if they have to top the worst villain, they have to be the worst villain, and that mean then they're probably gonna kill somebody that we like.
See, and that word, like, because like 2, like they killed off Roland and they killed off Bloodwing, and like both of those honestly were like huge hits. Like, wait, what? What do you mean he just killed off Bloodwing? What? How
Bloodwing
dare
was the
you?
only way I could kill anything in Borderlands 1, because apparently I spec Mordecai like shit. And that's why it took me like a whole hour of infinite shitty little pistol to kill a destroyer, but I took it down with Roland in this last run in like 5 minutes.
But yeah, like
I don't think I even had to reload, because Roland has like some of his skill tree. It's like
ammo regen.
Yeah, well, no, not ammo, but like it increases your clip size.
Oh.
So I had this assault rifle that had good damage, and it already had a massive clip. That it had a clip size of like almost like 200 bullets, I think, by the time I got to that point in the game. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna peek out. There's the eye, and like it took out like half of its health with one clip for the destroyer, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
I should have been playing this first time, but no, yeah, I would be incredibly surprised if nobody dies.
I would too, but at the same time, like, that frightens me, right? Because it's like, who are they gonna kill? Like, they can't. I don't want them to kill anyone. I like all the characters too much.
I wonder if they're gonna kill Zero.
They might.
Like, he'll do some like super badass sacrifice thing, and like,
I really want to play Tales from the Borderlands because it does look like
I just started
those characters.
I just did the first chapter yesterday, actually.
Yeah, because like the characters from that are supposed to be showing up and stuff. So it's like, okay, I do need to play that. I still need to finish pre-sequel, and then I'll probably do Tales from Borderlands after I finish pre-sequel. But I'm really curious on where they're going to take it from a story perspective, like how they're going to do the villains. I'm afraid of who they're going to kill because they're probably going to kill someone. I swear to God, they're going to kill Lilith, and I'm going to like lose my shit. They're going to do it, man. I can just feel it. But
I wouldn't be terribly surprised if there was like some siren reason for that, because like,
well, because there can only ever be 6 sirens.
Yeah, that was the thing that they brought up in 2, was that there can only be 6. Does that mean that there are only 6 and there can't be any more, or does that mean like if there's like, say if there were 5, that another one would like come into existence somehow? Because I didn't even catch that the villain in the first Borderlands, she was a siren.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that until I was like looking at the wiki, and I'm like, wait, what? And then I look at she's got the tattoos, and then she charges the key and opens up the destroyer, and then she dies.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't catch my first time through that I like realized later that yeah, she was a siren as well. But yeah, like I think it's implied that if like one dies, like another one, like someone else becomes a siren. But
then,
so like
so we have
throughout the series we had what was her name, like Sergeant Steel.
yeah,
So
Commander, I think.
we had Commander Steel,
Lilith, Maya,
Angel,
and then
and
possibly the new villain and the new Vault Hunter.
Yeah, so we have well, uh,
so Steel
Commander
is dead.
Steel is dead. Angel is dead.
Oh yeah.
So we have Lilith, Maya, and Amara, the new player character.
That's right.
And then we have one of the Calypso twins.
Yeah.
Who is also a siren.
So there's room for like 3 more. 2 more.
2 more. Yeah.
Duh.
2 more. But if they kill off one of the existing sirens, like that could be a thing. I could see that happening. I don't want it to happen, but I could see it happening.
They're going to kill off Lilith and Tiny Tina becomes a new siren.
Dude. I was actually really hoping that like before they released the trailer, this was actually something that was on my mind, was that like I really wanted them to make Tiny Tina a playable character.
Oh yeah,
as like one of the. God, I would love to play as Tiny Tina.
I've been going over like the Borderlands, like all the TV tropes pages and stuff like that, and all the theories and stuff from like years ago that have all either been confirmed or denied by now. But one of them was like one of the future game there'll be a time skip and Tiny Tina will be old enough to be a Vault Hunter and she'll be a playable character. And I'm like, that'd be fucking cool.
Maybe in Borderlands 4.
Maybe in Borderlands.
Or maybe we'll get her as DLC.
Maybe that would be cool. That's a thing that could happen. If Borderlands 3 does well enough.
I mean, that's probably unlikely, honestly, just because like she is going to be an NPC. But like Borderlands 4, like that's where I'm gonna put my hope, that she'll either be one of the main ones or she'll be like a DLC Vault Hunter. But because I think it'd be cool to play as Tiny Tina. She's just such a good character.
Yeah. All that new dialogue that there would have to be.
Yep. Oh god, I can't wait for that. She's so good. So good. Favorite character. Easy. But yeah. There's like a lot of little stuff in the trailers that like it has me excited, but at the same time like cautiously excited, like oh, I really want to see where they're going with this, but oh, I hope they don't fuck it up. I don't think they will.
Don't do microtransactions, please.
I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think they will either, but
they're pretty good about that.
You never know.
But like there was that like long before Borderlands 3 was confirmed, years ago, in Battleborn, there was like a teaser thing that was hidden in the game.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that, and I was like one of the 5 people who played Battleborn.
I remember hearing about it like a long time ago, but at the time it was just one of those things like, well, I hope one day we get Borderlands 3, but apparently they've been working on it. But like part of that thing is that like not to trust Tannis, and I'm curious as to what storyline role that is going to play, if it's going to come into play at all. Like, don't trust Tannis, don't open the vaults. Like, I want to see where that teaser bit goes.
We've already opened 2 of them, and the universe didn't end yet. Because we stopped both monstrosities that came out of them. Who knows?
Hasn't there been 3 opened? Don't you open one in pre-sequel?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. But that one, like, the final boss is like the guardian of the vault, and you don't actually. I don't think you actually get to like see what was in the vault itself. Or
I don't know. I'll get there.
No, it was like, oh fuck, what was it? I can't remember. It was like an artifact or something that, like, it was like the vault symbol thing.
Yeah.
And like Jack grabs it and it like explodes in his face, and that's like how he why he has to wear the mask.
Yeah.
I forget like what exactly it was supposed to be.
I don't know. I'm playing through it. I'll get there.
It's like the only one that didn't contain a potentially universe-ending monstrosity.
Too many tentacles. It's one of my favorite lines in pre-sequel is when you bump into Roland and Lilith, and it's like, we're done with vault hunting. Too many tentacles. What?
And then you get to fight the mini destroyer.
Duh, sounds adorable.
It really kind of is, because have you gotten to the point where you talk to the crazy scientist who's like in level Jack?
No.
Oh.
I'm not very far in.
Okay, he
still very early in the game.
I think I forget like what the backstory is, but he was trying to clone the destroyer, and it works, but it's like 3 feet tall.
Aww.
And it shoots like a little tiny laser, and you have to kill it.
That's adorable.
It might have been like a recurring enemy. Actually, I don't remember. I know there was the one mini destroyer that you like fight, quote fight.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a thing.
God, in the first game, it was such a like slap in the face when you first like play through it, because it's like they're hyping up the vault. It's supposed to be all this treasure, and then you finally get to that point in the game, and it's just like, here's a giant tentacle monster. It's like, oh come on, I wanted loot.
Like, well, you have to fight the monster to get the loot. Cool, I killed the monster. Where is the loot? I see a little bit of money here, a couple of common guns.
Yeah.
I feel like a legendary.
They made up for it with the General Knox DLC.
I haven't played any of the DLC for the first one. I don't have any of the DLC for the first one.
I mean, you do now because it upgraded to the Game of the Year edition.
That is true.
So General Knox is DLC. Like, basically, after you fight him, you go through. There's this like just you're on a timer. Like, the place is exploding,
you told me
and
about
there's
that
just
before.
this huge room just full of loot chests, and like they basically make up for the fact that like you didn't get that giant like lootapalooza with that DLC. And then there's, of course, the like glitch where you can fall through the floor and get into that area, like without actually fighting the boss, so you can loot most of it.
It's like it's like the thing in there's a thing in Fallout New Vegas where it's like, I think it's one of the DLCs where it's like basically like the whole story is like you're doing a heist like in a old casino or something like that, and you have to like there's gold bars that are worth like a shit ton of caps like a piece, and there's like tons of them. But if you try to take all of them, like you have a collar around your neck because like somebody's like hiring you to rob the place or something like that. If you try to take them all, he like locks you in and like blows you up or something like that. And I guess there are like ways to get around that and actually make off with all the money instead of like what you're supposed to take or something. I forget like what the context is, but it's like kind of that same idea.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can take all this stuff, but don't get too greedy because you'll die.
Yeah. Essentially what you do for the Borderlands thing is like you fall through the floor in this one area by like crouching down like under this like bit of like wall or something, and you just fall through the floor into the room. And as long as you don't go like there's a certain area like where there's an elevator that you don't go near because it'll like freeze you because it's like where it's part of the like the exit and like loading trigger or whatever. So you just go through there and you loot all these chests and until like your inventory's full, and then you take one of the rocket launchers you will inevitably find and you blow yourself up so that you respawn and you sell all of it, and then you fall down in there again, and you do that like 3 times, and eventually like you make so much money from like selling the stuff that you actually lose money when you kill yourself.
Wow.
But you find all the loots.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I didn't do any of the other DLC for the first one, though. Like, I vaguely remember doing the arena, which was Moxie's DLC, where they first introduced her. Because she has, like, an arena you can do.
Yeah.
So I vaguely remember the arena, and I know I did General Knox's thing, but I don't actually remember any of the story for General Knox's thing. Like, I completely forgot Athena was a character.
Oh.
Because she's like the one.
Yeah, right. Because they mentioned that in pre-sequel, I think.
Yeah,
she's like that's like part of her backstory.
Yeah, she like worked under General Knox. I think she's the one who like gets the Vault Hunters to take him out essentially.
Huh.
But and like that's something I totally forgot about because I haven't done that DLC in years. It's like I don't remember any of the story. I just remember the big room full of loot. But I never did any of the other DLCs for the first one. And like I would love to go back and revisit those at some point.
I would love to visit them for the first time at some point.
Let's do it.
Eventually, someday.
But
I mean, yeah, it's got to be a thing.
yeah, well,
all the Borderlands games.
Yeah, we just need to, before 3 comes out later this year, we need to just go through all of them like 100%.
Feel like streaming that would be better.
I mean, yeah, I didn't mean like from a recording standpoint. I just meant as a general, like, let's just play them.
We should stream it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm down with that too. I'm down.
I mean, we wouldn't even have to worry about the like audio, like capture, recording, and all that crap. Just like stream it and capture it however it goes.
Yeah, nah, just fucking pull you up in Discord and let's fucking go.
Yeah, won't have to do all that fucking around that we would for other games if we were going to record them with us playing online.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I figured out how to do that. I don't know if it still works or if there have been, like, updates that fuck around with that.
I do remember you figuring that out.
Yeah. I got it to work.
I did find a way to isolate audio sources, because something I've been doing when I'm streaming, well, something that I was going to be doing, but, like, I don't have headphones right now, so I wasn't able to do it last time. But the idea is you put the audio for, like, what you do is you pull up a window with your stream running, and you put the audio on a different output, and you have OBS set not to record that output so that you can listen to yourself to, like, keep an eye on your own audio levels while you're playing.
Huh.
And it also helps you keep an eye on, like, if you're just being silent. So, like, it keeps you active.
Weird.
But you have to deal with hearing yourself, which is, like, weird. But, like...
I mean, as long as it's not too desynced, otherwise you get, like, that speech jammer effect.
Yeah. But until I get, like, a set of earphones to use, it's kind of something I can't do right now. Because I don't have good earphones right now. I just have my headset.
Oh no.
And I need my headset for the game audio so that I can hear the game.
Yeah.
So I can't have my stream audio coming through that because then it'll get recorded and it's the whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah. Borderlands.
Hype. Just, this is going to be the year of Borderlands for me as far as I'm concerned. I pre-ordered the collector's edition of 3 today. Put down like the $25 down they wanted. That's going to cost me a lot when it comes out. But hey, hopefully I'll have some money set aside by then.
And I'm going to have to wait for the Steam version because, yeah, I'm one of those.
It's okay. Look at the bright side.
It's coming out at all.
Well, there's that. I was like, initially I was thinking along the lines of like, it's going to have already been out for a while, and when it comes to Steam, it's probably going to be a little cheaper.
Yeah, it'll probably go on
Plus,
sale.
it's Steam. Like, everything's on sale on Steam all the time.
Yeah. It might even be DLC by that time. I mean, it's six months.
I literally
Epic
get
and Steam.
daily emails from Steam being like, an item on your wish list is on sale.
Yeah, I get.
I mean, sure, I have 200 games on my wish list, so it's kind of hard.
I get the pop-ups on my phone,
still.
and I get emails every so often. It's like, yeah, like 5 things on your wish list are on sale. Cool. I'm not going to buy any of them right now because I'm not really in the market for more games.
Same.
I just bought a fucking PlayStation, and, you know, I'm still working on Bloodborne. And then Borderlands is coming out, so I gotta catch up on that. Even though I've been playing it off and on pretty much since it came out.
Yeah. Obviously, what we do is when 3 comes out, since you'll be waiting on the Steam version to pick it up for yourself, you just come over here and we split screen that bitch on my PS4.
That could be done. That would work.
So I'm getting the console version just because I wanted to get the collector's edition, because I wanted it. I had a mighty need.
And if I could hook up a keyboard and mouse to my PlayStation, I would totally be, you know, on that.
I wonder if you could.
I don't know that it... Like, I looked up something earlier just because the thought occurred to me. I'm like, it's got USB on it. I already use a wireless keyboard for typing in chat could I put a mouse in and have it work and do the controls and all that?
I guess it would come down to like if they set the game up to recognize it.
That would be the main thing. But apparently it's possible. It mostly depends on the mouse that you use, because it won't download drivers.
Well, yeah,
So it has to recognize the mouse like
natively.
straight up, plug it in, and it goes. So if it needs drivers, it won't work. Potentially. But I mean, yeah, it's something that I'll have to check out and see, because then I might be able to play first-person shooters on a console.
What? All right.
I mean, I downloaded Call of Duty just because it was like free for PlayStation Plus, and I'm like, sure.
Oh yeah, I haven't looked at the free games for Plus. in a
It
bit.
should have just changed. Isn't it monthly?
I think so.
Yeah, because last month it was The Witness and Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I downloaded the the Witness.
The Witless.
The Witness.
I mean,
I was trying not to call it that, but that's what was on my mind. All right.
I did not like The Witness.
It looks interesting. I want to check it out.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't what I thought it would be. I expected something totally different, and yeah, I was disappointed.
fair enough.
I
have no
expected Mist, and I got Connect the Dots.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
We should call this
we're
podcast
we're
there.
coming up on 2 hours here.
Yeah. Which is
That's pushing it for us.
yeah. Already a little longer than I intended it to be.
Yeah. This has been SpellCast, the Gaming Wizards podcast. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that shit. If you care, we don't care. Do we care?
I care a little.
I care. We care a little bit.